afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to everyone present here. Himangi Pilkawar, Web Development Associate at Gyani Rudra, on behalf of the whole team of Gyani Rudra, welcome you all to this live interactive session on quantum computing, the technology of the future. Now, let me begin with what exactly Gyani Rudra is all about. So it is an initiative to help individuals come out of the that race and become aware of their true potential to work on their journey of happiness and success in their life. For more details of Gyani Rudra, you can search this on Google, and even you can visit our website. Further, Zero Monk is an upcoming startup, and it aims to assist students to grow and achieve their career objectives through helping them in preparing for jobs, connecting with the mentors of their fields. They are coming to make your college life like 10 times better. Now, coming to the theme of the event, that is quantum computing. So, it is a modern way of computing that is based on the science of quantum mechanics, and it's an unbelievable phenomenon. Like, it provides high computational power, less energy consumption, and exponential speed over classical computers, which we are using by controlling the behavior of small physical objects, that is like microscopic particles like atoms, electrons, protons, etc. And to make you aware and explore it to further look forward for our career possibilities. We have with us our expert, Mr. Anshul Saxena, faculty coordinator at Center for Emerging Business Technology at MBA at Christ University, Pune. So we welcome you, sir, to this session. It's really a great pleasure to have you with us in this session. So, and now I would like to invite our creator and crafter, Mr. Ronak Gupta, sir, to further introduce our guest to the audience.
So thank you, Himangi, for welcoming the audience with such wonderful energy and introducing the audience with the theme of the event. And now let me begin with the introduction of our guest without any further delay. So Professor Anshul Saxena is a seasoned data storyteller and practitioner. He has two patents at national and international level and is the co-author of the book HR Analytics: Quantifying the Intangibles. He has working proficiency in SAS, Python, R, TensorFlow, Quantum, AWS, and Tableau. Currently, he is pursuing his PhD from Christ University on quantum finance and is a coordinator for Center for Emerging Business Technologies. He is also an active contributor to Cognito, that is Python library, and he has worked as a consultant with the IBM ICE group as a curriculum designer and content writer. Mr. Saxena has also trained employees from Altron, HPCL, and IOC, and many other organizations. So let me take this privilege to welcome Professor Saxena. And without any further delay, I welcome Professor Saxena sir to begin with this session and start it.
Thank you, Ronak sir. So before I begin today's session, let me tell you one thing. The theme of the session is I will first take you to what is quantum computing, and then what are the various principles that is used in quantum computing. Then I will show you some applications of quantum computing, where it is used, and in what type of quantum computers are there in usage right now. And I will try to introduce you to few of the online resources through which you can start your journey in the quantum computing. Then we can have a look at what kind of jobs which is available in the quantum computing and related areas. Okay, so with this, I think I have set the tone for our discussion today, and this will be more like to and fro discussion. So what I expect is, if you have any question, you can actually pause me in between and then then ask the question. Okay, what is quantum computing? All of you have heard about classical computing. So we see and we use it in our day-to-day life, right? So classical computing, when we look at it right now, the laptop through which you are attending this particular webinar, or the mobiles, all of them are using classical computing, right? But what is quantum computing? So there is a very beautiful definition that is given by Microsoft researcher David Riley. What he is telling, quantum machine, it is like an analog computer. So if I have to give you an analogy towards what is analog computer, you can look at the calculator, where you can give the strings of numbers and then you can get the output over there. Now here we are encoding information in the ephemeral waves. So as some time back Himakshi has introduced that we use nanoparticles like atoms and ions and electrons, photons, proton, all these particles to transfer the information. And this information, these ephemeral waves, they are actually comprised of light and matter at the nanoscale. So nanoscale is quite a small scale. We can't see it with the naked eye, and we have to use microscopic particles to watch through these particular through all these waves. Now here when we look at quantum computing, it is based on, or it is built on, two quantum mechanical phenomenon. And what are those two quantum mechanical phenomenon? Those are superposition and entanglement, and we use both these concepts to perform the computation in the quantum computer. Now when we look at what is superposition, so let's look at what are these two concepts. So let's first have a look at what is superposition, and then we will have a look at what is entanglement. Now just give me a sec. Yeah, I'm sure all of you have heard about this particular experiment by Schrödinger. So Schrödinger cat is a scientific experiment which was done in the late 1980. In 1980, right? So as a part of the experiment, what Mr. Schrödinger has done, he has actually put a cat in the box, right, and a bottle of poison. Now until and unless we open the box, we don't know what will be the outcome, whether the cat will be alive or the cat will be dead. Okay, I mean, in a very crude language, if I have to put it, I mean, definitely we have come across this joke many times, that girl or a boy, they will say to each other that I love you, but as a friend. Now you are not sure whether you are actually their partner, or you are actually their friend. Like it's in a position which they have left you in between. So similarly, in the Schrodinger's cat, what happened is, we don't know whether a cat is dead or cat is alive. Right. Now when we look at it, superposition, so we call it as a combination of states. So you imagine it like this. In a modern computer, or in a classical computer, we come across bits. We always deal in terms of bits. So a particular number, either it can be a 1 or it can be a 0. There are only two states, 1 or 0. But in a quantum computer, it can actually assume any state in between. It can actually assume in any state in between, right? So what happens is, when we look at the superposition per se, as an example, we don't know that until and unless let's put it like this. When we toss the coin, there is always a head or a tail, right? That's the outcome. But what happens, let's say, if you have a coin which will land vertically on the surface, right? Now you can't say whether it is head or it is tail. It's in between. The state is in between. So that is the superposition, right? Now let's look at the next concept. What is entanglement? So you need to look at it like this. Now these are very abstract concepts, right? And when I'm telling that these are abstract concepts, just look at it like this. And it's a very far-fetched example. What I'm trying to say, or what I'm trying to tell over here, let's say I am here in India right now. I stay in Pune city. So hello. I toss a coin in Pune, right? My friend is there in Japan, right? He goes and he toss a coin over there at the same time. Hello. Now what happens is, I also got a head and he also got a head. right? Now, when we look at it, there is so much of distance between these two countries that me tossing a coin over here, my coin toss might not have affected the coin toss in Japan, but there is some kind of relationship in between. So similarly, when you look at it, all of you have studied the basic physics and chemistry. So when we look at the movements of electrons and protons, and sorry, electrons. So when we look at the movement of electrons, the movement of one electron is actually affecting the movement of another electron as well. Now these are the two principles. So when we combine it together, the superposition and the entanglement, we will be successful in building the quantum computer. So you can imagine it like this. As you can see on the screen, that there is a quantum computer and there is a classical computer. So when we look at the classical computer is actually dealing in the classical bits 0 and 1. And then we look at it when we look at the qubit, it is actually a circle kind of shape. So it can be 0 or it can be 1 or it can be in between. It can be a position in between. We will not know until and unless it will come to its final position. Either at that time it will be 0 or it will be 1. Right. Now if you look at it, where do we use all these kinds of qubits? What is the business application of the qubits? If you ask me, the most important part that we can look at it. Now, if you look at it, the first quantum bit or the qubit that we can come across is in the portfolio optimization. So you can look at it like this. Let's say we have actually built a portfolio of 3 stocks, 4 stocks, and we know that I need to invest 10,000 in stock A, 10,000 in stock B, 10,000 in stock C, and 10,000 in stock D. Now, in these all the 4 stocks, I have invested around 40,000. Now, what happens is a classical computer or a classical bits will give you that whether you should invest money in stock A, yes or no, stock B, yes or no, stock C, yes or no, stock D, yes or no. It will not give you the answers like maybe, or it will not give you the answers like no, you can't invest in it, or you can invest in it. Maybe you can invest in it because the probability is coming as 0.8, 0.9. What I'm trying to say over here is you will not get an absolute decision, but you will get a real-time decision, right? You can get a decision. Okay, I can invest some amount of money in stock A. Stock C is doing very well, so I can invest more amount of money over there. A real-time simulation of the world is possible in using qubits. जो दूसरा एग्जांपल मैं दे सकता हूँ, वो एग्जांपल मैं ऐसे दे सकता हूँ कि जब हम क्वांटम कंप्यूटर को यूज करते हैं तो हमको देखना पड़ता है कि हम कितना डेटा प्रोसेस कर सकते हैं एक बार में. अब जो लेटेस्ट क्वांटम कंप्यूटर IBM ने बनाया है, तो अगर हम उस पर देखें तो आप सबने देखा होगा कि हम DNA यूज करते हैं. हमारे शरीर में DNA होता है, हमारे शरीर में प्रोटीन होता है. तो प्रोटीन की क्या होती है, सीक्वेंसिंग होती है. तो सीक्वेंसिंग अगर हम देखें तो उसके अंदर कम से कम भी नहीं तो 60 करोड़ सीक्वेंस होते हैं. अब हमको अगर उन 60 करोड़ सीक्वेंस को चेंज करके देखना हो, और तो बेसिकली हम उन सीक्वेंस को अगर चेंज करते हैं तो सबसे पहले आपका सवाल होगा कि हम क्यों चेंज करें उसको, कैसे अगर हम उसको चेंज कर सकते हैं तो क्या हम कोई बीमारी दूर कर सकते हैं? हाँ, हम बीमारी दूर कर सकते हैं. जैसे अगर आप अभी देख रहे होंगे तो कोरोना में जो बेसिकली आप जो वैक्सीन ले रहे हैं तो उसके अंदर भी बहुत सारे प्रोटीन्स और एंजाइम्स, डेड वायरस, ये सारे कल्चर करके, मतलब ये सारे इन सबको ऑर्गेनिकली उगा के फिर आपके शरीर में डाला गया ताकि जब कोरोना वायरस घुसे तो दे कैन फाइट ईच अदर. तो if you look at it, these are protein sequences. So when we look at the protein sequences, so you will get some 6 crores or 60 crores pairs. Now, using classical computer, you can process the information related to protein sequencing. Only 6 crore protein sequence हम एक बार में एनालाइज कर सकते हैं, जबकि हमको करने कितने हैं, हमको प्रोटीन सीक्वेंस 60 करोड़ प्रोटीन सीक्वेंस एनालाइज करने हैं, राइट. तो अगर हमको रियल टाइम में 60 करोड़ प्रोटीन सीक्वेंस एनालाइज करने हैं तो उसके लिए हमको सुपर कंप्यूटर चाहिए होगा. वो अभी जो सुपर कंप्यूटर है, मैं आपको थोड़ी सी देर में बताऊंगा, अभी जो सुपर कंप्यूटर है उनमें भी इतनी क्षमता नहीं है. दैट इज पॉसिबल ओनली थ्रू यूजिंग क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग. तो जस्ट फॉर रिकॉल, हमने जो फर्स्ट उसमें डिस्कस करा है, हमने एक डेफिनेशन देखी है कि क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग जो होती है वो क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स के ऊपर डिपेंड करती है. क्वांटम मैकेनिक्स बेसिकली हम उसको एनालॉग कंप्यूटर बोलते हैं. एनालॉग कंप्यूटर एक तरह से कैलकुलेटर ही होता है जिसमें हम अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन पास करते हैं, और जब हम उन्हें उस इंफॉर्मेशन को पास करते हैं तो जो इंफॉर्मेशन होती है वो तरंगों द्वारा प्रसारित होती है. अब जो तरंग होती है उसके दो नेचर बोल सकते हैं, दो रूप बोल सकते हैं कि वो एट अ टाइम वो लाइट का भी रूप होती है और एट अ टाइम वो मैटर भी होती है, और उसको हम एकदम से नैनो स्केल पे देखते हैं. और इधर हम क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग और जो क्वांटम कंप्यूटर होता है वो दो प्रिंसिपल पर होता है. एक तो होता है सुपरपोजिशन और एक होता है एंटेंगलमेंट. सुपरपोजिशन क्या हो गया, अब जैसे आपने ये काफी बार ये एक्सपेरिमेंट बड़ा फेमस एक्सपेरिमेंट है, आपने कई बार पढ़ा भी होगा, श्रोडिंगर की बिल्ली. अब वो जिंदा है या फिर वो मर गई है ये हम नहीं पता कर सकते. तो श्रोडिंगर ने क्या किया था, उसने अपनी जो बिल्ली थी एक डब्बे के अंदर बंद कर दी जहर के साथ. अब जब तक हम उस डब्बे को नहीं खोलेंगे तब तक हमें ये नहीं पता चलेगा कि वो बिल्ली जिंदा है या फिर वो बिल्ली मर गई है. बट तो इससे हम क्या समझाना चाह रहे हैं, इससे हम एक तरह से सुपरपोजिशन समझाना चाह रहे हैं. सुपरपोजिशन में जैसे आपका इलेक्ट्रॉन्स का मूवमेंट होता है तो हम उसको प्लस माइनस और या फिर +1 और या फिर 1 और 0 इन दो स्टेट्स में देखते हैं, और जबकि वो उसके बीच का भी कोई सा भी स्टेट ले सकता है, तो उसको हम सुपरपोजिशन बोलते हैं. और जो दूसरा होता है, एक जो एग्जांपल मैंने आप लोगों को दिया था वो उसमें मैंने कॉइन टॉस वाला एग्जांपल दिया था कि अगर हम सिक्का उछालेंगे तो हमें या तो हेड मिलता है हमेशा या फिर टेल मिलता है. जो चीज मैंने ये बोली थी कि अगर वो सिक्का जमीन पर आकर खड़ा हो जाए तो हम ये नहीं बता पाएंगे कि हेड है कि टेल है, क्योंकि वो खड़ा सिक्का है वहां पे. बेसिकली इट्स इन 2 स्टेट्स, वो हेड भी है और वो टेल भी है, राइट. सिमिलरली अगर हम एंटेंगलमेंट देखा जाए तो एंटेंगलमेंट एक ऐसी चीज है कि मैंने इंडिया में बैठ के अगर कोई सिक्का उछाला, उसी टाइम पे मेरे दोस्त ने जापान पे बैठ के कोई सिक्का उछाला. अब दोनों को हेड आया. जरूरी नहीं है कि ये मतलब ये कोइंसिडेंस भी हो सकता है, बट इसमें साइंटिस्ट का ये मानना है कि यहाँ पे मैटर ने एक दूसरे को इन्फ्लुएंस किया है, पार्टिकल्स ने एक दूसरे को इन्फ्लुएंस किया है, इस वजह से मेरे को भी हेड आया और उधर भी हेड आया. तो ये तो एक मतलब बहुत ही छोटा सा एग्जांपल हो गया. जनरली अगर हम देखते हैं तो इसको हम नैनो स्केल पे देखते हैं. नैनो स्केल पे हम क्या देखते हैं कि अगर इलेक्ट्रॉन अगर प्रोटॉन के इर्द गिर्द घूम रहा है तो 2 इलेक्ट्रॉन क्या एक ही टाइम पे एक ही पोजीशन में आ सकते हैं. तो ये एंटेंगलमेंट हो गया. तो इसी के साथ जो फर्स्ट फेज था मेरा वो खत्म हुआ, जो है क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग. कि क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग क्या है, अगर बहुत ही सरल भाषा में बोला जाए तो क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग एक नई तरीके का कंप्यूटिंग पैराडाइम है जिसके अंदर हम लोग बहुत सारे सिमुलेशन कर सकते हैं, ऑप्टिमाइजेशन कर सकते हैं. तो मैं आपको एक बार में बताता हूँ कि हाउ वी कैन डू दैट. Now, this is another presentation which I'm going to discuss. Now, this presentation is more about applications of quantum computing. What are different applications of quantum computing, and few of the use case also we can look at. Now, this guy, Richard Feynman, basically a very famous computer. He is known as the father of quantum computing. He has worked with Caltech labs, and he invented the concept of the quantum computing in the year 1981. So what he has told, that nature isn't classical, and if you want to make a simulation of nature, you would better make it quantum mechanical. And it's a wonderful problem because it doesn't look so easy. I can understand that when I'm explaining, let's say, entanglement and superposition, you must be wondering, okay, so if you are not from the physics background, you will struggle little bit in the first. But problem is, when we look at the nature also, it's not classical. I mean, whenever we talk about the classical physics or classical mechanics, we always think that there is only two outcomes. या तो होगा या फिर नहीं होगा. There can be a third outcome which can be in between. Right? But when we look at nature, it is always giving you different results. It is always giving you different phenomenons altogether. Like आज की तारीख में हम इतने एडवांस हो गए हैं कि we can predict rain, but we can't predict that when it is going to rain with the accuracy के now next minute it is going to rain. मतलब अगले ही second rain होने वाली है. Why we are not able to do that? Because we are still in classical computing era. We have not gone into the quantum computing era per se. Now, these are different types of quantum computers that you will come across. So the first one is your electron spin. So it is based on the spinning of the electrons. Basically what happens is, in the computer, the electrons are charged and then it will take different positions. So that's where the electron spins will come into the picture. Now you can see that when it is spinning, when the electron is spinning, you will never know. Now when we look at it, either if it is at the tip of this arrow, it is in 0 position, and if it is at tip of this arrow, it is at position 1. So there are two states. Now if you look at it, an electron can be in between any point of time, right? So it is traveling from this axis to this axis. So that is superposition. And when these two electrons will interact with each other, this is known as entanglement. Through this, they will pass on the information. Now, when we use the molecule energy level, when we talk at the atomic level, we are using all these molecular energies. These are the ions. We charge the ions and we basically put them into 0 and 1. All these kinds of positions. Now these are the circuits. These are the superconducting circuits through which we are actually forming the quantum computers. Then there is photons. And photons, when we charge up, they jump from one position to another position. Now, if you look at it, companies like Google, IBM, and D-Wave, Rigetti Systems, they are using quantum gates, and they are basically using the superconducting circuits to give out the results. Now this is also a very famous company, Trapped Ion, IonQ, and Honeywell. आप इन कंपनीज का नाम भी लिख सकते हैं. These are very famous companies who are making quantum computers right now, and it is based on the trapped ions technology, the molecular energy level. And photonics has been used by Xanadu. Okay, so the quantum computers which are based on photonics, they are based on the Xanadu. Right now, both, if you look at it right now, the quantum computing is in very nascent stage. बेसिकली अभी शुरुआत हुई है क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग की. सो कैन वी सिमुलेट द क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग, मतलब हम क्वांटम कंप्यूटर को अपने क्लासिकल कंप्यूटर पे भी चला सकते हैं. तो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज लाइक IBM, गूगल, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, AWS, एटोस, एनवीडिया, फ्यूजित्सु, तोशिबा. तो ये कंपनीज सिमुलेटर भी बना रही है और हर जगह काफी रिसर्च भी चल रही है. स्टैनफोर्ड के अंदर, इंटेल के अंदर, एंड दे आर मेकिंग डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ कंप्यूटर. नाउ इफ यू लुक एट इट, इंटेल जो बना रही है वो इलेक्ट्रॉन स्पिन के ऊपर, सेमीकंडक्टर के ऊपर क्वांटम कंप्यूटर बना रही है. तो शुरू में जो बोला गया था कि यू यूज डिफरेंट पार्टिकल ऑफ एटम्स, राइट, लाइक इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, फोटॉन्स, द एटम्स इटसेल्फ, आयंस, टू build the quantum computer, different kinds of quantum computer. Now you can look at it. That's how the quantum computer looks like. So this is your Google quantum computer, this is your IBM quantum computer. These are the outside, from the outside, how these quantum computers are looking at. They are so big that you need a special room to store these kinds of computers. अगर आपने पुराने कंप्यूटर देखो 1950s and 1960s, that they used to be in one room, those computers used to get fit. Quantum computing is in the same stage right now. We need huge rooms, super cooling rooms to fit the quantum computer. Now what's inside it, that's how quantum computer looks from inside. So if you look at it, these are basically the gold plates inside the IBM quantum computer, which is used to produce the electrons and to spin the electrons. This is your ion trap computer by IonQ. Rigetti computers is there. So as you can see over here, right, Google, IBMQ and Rigetti have similar type of quantum computer based on your superconducting charges. So you can see IBM, Rigetti and Google. All of them have cylindrical core over here, right? Similarly, अगर आप IonQ में देखेंगे तो IonQ is more like you charge ion particles, then send them from one place to another place. So that's how it's look from inside, that they are charging it over here, then sending it to another place over here. Now this is a bit more about what is let's say a superconducting technology versus your ion trap technology versus your neutral atom technology. So as I have explained it earlier, that basically the superconducting is through the conductor, how you are simulating or you are producing two different states at the same time. In the ion trap, basically what you are doing, you are charging the ions and sending it from, or injecting it from one place to another place. Now what is the advantages of quantum computing? I mean, if you look at it, see, classical computing is so advanced today that it can solve most of the problems, but it can't solve every problem actually, right? So there are few problems like simulation problem, optimization problem, which if you want to simulate or if you want to solve, you need to use quantum computer. Let me again get back to you on the example of stock market, right? So if you look at it, in a day on NSE, National Stock Exchange, I'm talking about in a day, there are 96 lakhs trades which take place, right? How many trades? 96 lakh trades which take place. Now if you want to analyze each and every trade, basically you can analyze it in only 1 or 2 years. I'm talking about 1 day trade. Now, if you want to do it for, let's say, 120 days or 140 days, basically you will need some three. You will need a good amount of time to analyze the trades, right? But with the help of quantum computer, you can simulate those trades. You can see what kind of strategy traders are uh, deploying, and based on that you can simulate the trades very easily. So that's actually the uh, power of the quantum computing. Now you can see that there are three types of problems basically that can be solved, or if you look at it, the most difficult problems which are hard to solve for classical computers are the simulation problems and your NP problems, the numerical programming problem. So this can be solved very easily by the quantum computers. And if you are familiar with the complexity curve, that how good or how fast your algorithms is giving the result, you can look over here that quantum computers are actually taking down the complexity level to the log n stage. Now this is one slide where you can see, right? Now you can see a classical computer, if you have the size, a byte size, in a byte you can actually have only two states, 0 or 1, right? And it can actually store only one value at a time. So it can actually store either 0 or 1. I'm talking about the classical state. But in a qubit you can actually store two information at a time, right? It can be it will be a probability between 0 and 1. Remember the toss example which I have given. Right. Now, if you look at it, the second example that we are looking at, okay, we can store either one value. So now you have 2 bytes. 2 bytes means you can store only 4 values out of these, only one value out of the 4 values which has been given. So it can be either 0 0, it can be 0 1, it can be 1 0, or it can be 1 1. But again, when you look at the quantum computer, it can actually store 4 times the information. Similarly, when you have 3 bytes, it can again store only one information out of all these combination. Quantum can actually store 8 times more information. Now you can see here that in terms of the storage, actually you can get a much better storage facility from the quantum phenomenon. If you look at it, this is the processor that we are looking at. And these are the information storage capacity that we can look at. Now these are different. Now if you look at it, the maximum amount of the qubit that has been. Okay, so Ranak sir, I can go to the next slide now, right?
Yes, I think so. Because right now, if let me ask once again, is there any other question or should we proceed? Okay, so sir, yeah, Siddharth, do you want to ask anything?
No, sir, that right.
Okay, so there's one question in chat box like from Ishan Pant, like that is quantum computer and supercomputer is same.
No, quantum computer and supercomputer are different. Ishant, I have facts on both the things, so I will show it to you shortly.
Okay, so sir, I think now you can proceed with.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome.
So now if you look at it, when we look at it, these are two companies which are actually investing a lot on quantum computing. So if you look at it, Google is investing a lot, and then IBM is also investing a lot. In fact, Amazon has also started with something known as Amazon Bracket. So they are also investing a good amount of money on the quantum computing. So if you look at it, the number of qubits is a problem. So basically, the types of problems that I am telling that we can solve with the help of quantum computer, it will take another 10 to 20 years to reach to that particular state, because if you look at it, the number of qubits are very less right now. We are actually playing with 3 qubits or 4 qubits, 5 qubits, and this is in an experimental stage. Just a second. This is in a experimental stage. Now, this you can look at it so this is basically a roadmap which has been prepared by my friend Alex. So I'm using his PPT only over here. So what he is telling, that a fully functional quantum computer, actually it is possible only in the year 2070. And why he is telling that that will be a remarkable year, because all of you might have heard about something known as Moore's law, right? You remember I was talking about the classical computers, size of the classical computers in the beginning. So it was like the entire room was actually captured by the classical computers. And now if you look at it, it's a very small chip in your laptop. Basically, your processor is a very small chip, and we are planning to make it invisible, or Intel is planning to make it invisible in the near future. What I'm trying to say over here is, because of this particular phenomenon, we have reduced the size of the processor. Earlier it was like a very big machine, now it is on a small chip. Now if you look at it, quantum computers, 1 qubit or 2 qubit quantum computer is a very big processing machine, and to bring it to that particular level, it will take years of research. And there is a lot of noise element also which is associated with quantum computer. Now if you look at it, when I was talking about superposition, when I was telling it can actually assume or attain a value between 0 and 1, it will be in that state only for a nanosecond. The quantum computer, or the ion or the electron or the photon, will be in that state only for only for nanoseconds actually. So there the question related to storage comes into the picture, that whether we can rely on quantum computers result, yes or no. And unfortunately the answer is, right now we need error corrections with the help of classical computers as of now. So they will process the information for you, but it will take a good amount of time to process that particular information based on classical computing format. Now if you look at it, these are the companies which is very actively involved on the quantum computing platform. And here you can see that these are the fundings which have been received by the quantum computing companies. The most famous one are the D-Wave and the Rigetti. D-Wave is the oldest company which is in play right now. It has started in 1999, and they have raised around 204 million US dollars. And this is, as you can see right now, this area is gaining that traction. So in the future, by 2029, it is expected that there will be a lot of investment in this particular area. It can be to the tune of $2.5 billion. So when we are looking at the applications and use cases, basically these are the applications of the computing that we look at. Right now, if you look at the processors that is there in your computer, we have multi-core PC, like we have 5 core, 6 core, 7 core PCs are there. We have very special purpose supercomputer PCs are there to mine the bitcoins. All of you have heard about bitcoins, cryptocurrency. To mine them, we have something known as server farms, which consumes a lot of electricity. Then we have GPUs. Those of you who are in AI ML, all of you will be familiar, or in the gaming part, all of you will be familiar with the GPUs. Then we have supercomputers that is present over here, and the type of algorithms that we are looking at genetic algorithms. We are looking at greedy algorithms, gradient descent, which is the functions that we use in deep learning. And if you look at the applications of it, the protein folding example which I have given, portfolio optimization we have discussed, time series we have discussed, feature selection in ML. I'm talking about the classical computing part of it right now. Right, and this is what are the use cases to make new drugs and vaccines. Just to build up on my protein folding example, let's say you want to know the side effect of the drugs because you have actually played around with the sequencing or the protein folding of that particular virus. Now, if you look at it, if you want to test it on a live case, we might lose a human life, right? If we are testing it if we are testing it on the humans directly. But what they do a lot of simulations, and with the help of simulations, they will try to determine the outcome, right? But as I have told earlier, that when we were talking about the 60 million protein foldings or 60 million sequences, if we can process it at one time using quantum computer, that will produce a much better or much accurate results than comparison to the classical computers, where we are seeing the 6 million foldings at a particular time. This can be used, or the quantum computer can be used in aircraft and in engine design as well. Now, there was a question on supercomputer, right? So right now, as you can see over here, Raiken, the supercomputer developed by Fujitsu in Japan, is the most famous supercomputer that can be used. And now if you look at it, here you can have a look at the chart from inside, which will tell you and where are we using this supercomputer. So it is actually, we are using it in high energy physics, right? We are using it in atomic physics to simulate the atoms. We are using it in nuclear physics, right? Combustion types of problem, astrophysics. We are using it in biology to solve the protein foldings problems, chemistry, climate, computer science, materials, fusion energy. The typical business use case of supercomputer or the industry usage of supercomputer is quite low over here. And here you can see a picture of supercomputer which is developed. So this supercomputer name is Ornell, and it is jointly developed by IBM and NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a very famous GPU making company. Now, these are the typical quantum applications that we look at. So there are two types of quantum processors that we are looking at. First one is the quantum annealer, and the second one is the quantum processor or the quantum gate. And when we talk about quantum inspired processor, so basically these are the classical computer. These are the simulations based quantum computers which can run on the classical computers, right? So these are known as quantum inspired processors. And then we use a lot of quantum algorithms. These are very famous quantum algorithms that you can come across: quantum annealing, then phase estimation, Shor's, Grover's, amplitude amplifications. Then you can have a look at hybrid algorithms like VQE, QAOA, and where we can use these. What are the applications of these quantum computers? These quantum computers are basically used in machine learning to calculate the shortest distance. All of you, if you have heard about the travel salesman problem, it was recently solved by a quantum computer with a very good accuracy. Time series forecasting of crude oil prices, forecasting of bitcoins. Right now, it's very difficult to predict bitcoin's movement, right? Because there is a lot of behavioral finance which comes into the picture. You need to understand the emotions of the people. So a quantum computer has that kind of potential where it can think like a human, and it can accurately forecast the bitcoin prices in the near future. So all of you have seen this traveling salesman problem. Then we have factoring problem that can be solved, and a few of the use cases that we can look at. We can look at the optimization problem, security, and the artificial intelligence. We can have a look at all these problems as well. Now, these are different types of algorithms that we can look at. So these are very famous quantum algorithms. One algorithms which I would like to talk about is the Shor's algorithms. Right. Now what happens is all of you have heard about cryptography, right? I mean, in principle, the cryptography is basically the OTP that you obtain on your mobiles, and the tokens. So we call it as RSA tokens. So the value of those RSA tokens that you obtain for your net banking, right? It's difficult to encrypt because using 16-bit encryption, it is that information is encrypted and it will only go to the recipients only. But a quantum computer in its fully functional form can break open those RSA codes within nanoseconds actually. So once a quantum computer has been developed and God forbid it's in wrong hand, it will be a disaster for countries' economies and banking system per se. These are few of the use cases that we can look at. So Gartner is a very famous company that has actually given a use case of quantum computer. So you can see that quantum chemistry is there. So a lot of problem in the chemistry field, the molecular design, molecule movements can be solved using quantum chemistry. You have quantum machine learning. So if you are interested in solving the machine learning problems using the quantum computer way, you can actually have a look at QML. You have quantum algorithms, which is solving a pretty specific maths problem, which is related to linear algebra and code breaking. There is a quantum communication, so it deals with encryption, and there is quantum simulations, which actually helps in transport problems and road transports, etc., etc. So these are the different applications of quantum computing that we can look at. I will just proceed towards my third part. So I will basically use Google in front of you so that all of you can remember. So the first part that we can look at, so first website that you should go as a quantum computer enthusiast, you should go to this website, Qiskit. Right. Now if you look at it, this is open source quantum development website. Lot of information related to quantum has been given over here. The quantum algorithms which I was talking about, noise mitigation that I was talking about, you can actually access it. And if you want to install Qiskit in your laptop, you can actually use it using Python. So it's one of the library which has been given by IBM. It's a very good learning resource, and if you look at it, you can actually learn it. You can actually go to the learn document over here. This is one of the fantastic textbook which has been written on quantum computing. So this is a Qiskit textbook that we can look at, and you can actually look at what are the introductory course that has been given by Qiskit. Introduction to quantum computing and quantum hardware. These are that there is a tutorials that has been given. The coding part has been given. So all these series has been given, right? And when you look at the documentation, very nice documentation from the Qiskit has been given, where different types of use cases has been, where different types of use cases has been defined. Like I will take this example over here of the Qiskit Finance. So actually, it will show you how it is solving, let's say, a credit risk analysis problem using quantum computer. Right. So how it is taking value at risk, uncertainty model, right? Expected loss, how it is calculating all those phenomena. So all these codes has been given over here. You can compare it with your regular codes. Then the next website that I would like to introduce is your Circu. So this is again a Google Python library, which is provided by Google. So Circu is also quite a fantastic library that you can use, right? And the third one is Amazon Bracket. So this is the quantum computing service which has been given by Amazon, right? You can actually access the real-time quantum computer over here for your research. So it gives 1 free hour of simulation time per month for a year. You can build tasks, you can run and analyze your quantum computer over here. Right, and so it is actually based on Rigetti processors, IonQ processors, quantum annealers has been given by the Amazon, right? And you want to work on real-time IBM quantum computer, you can actually do it. So you can go and register over here on this particular website. And you can actually access the real-time quantum computer using this particular cloud website, and it's free in the beginning. Right, so these are few of the quantum computing languages. Qiskit is there, Circu is there, Amazon Quantum Bracket is there, which you can. There is one more language which is Pennylen, which is used in quantum machine learning. It's again an open source quantum machine learning language. Right. Now what happens is IBM is one of the leader in this particular category. So they introduce something known as IBM quantum hackathons in different companies, where you can actually, so these are known as Qiskit hackathons global. What happens over here is you can actually go and compete in a real time in the real time basis on different hackathons, and you can make your presence felt, you can make your presence felt over here. There is an entire community on LinkedIn of the cricketers, and they come, they meet, they discuss the problems, and through which you can build up your global network actually. So I encourage you to take part in Quizzkit hackathons, and and there is one organization known as Q World, right? So I'm part of Q World. Basically, they do a lot of activities. They do provide internships which is related to quantum computing. So if any of you, let's say, you want to learn more about quantum computing free of cost, you can go to this Q course, and you can start enrolling over here. There is 1 year of basic quantum computing course which is provided by Q World over here. Then again, IBM, they do something known as Quizzkit Summer School, uh, which is very famous. So you can actually go and look for these summer schools. These are very prestigious summer schools. If you can enroll in it, and then try to participate in all these summer school, you will come across different types of participants. You will learn new different things related to uh, quantum computing. So, in fact, I will send a book to Ronak, which is a very good introductory book on the quantum computing. So, with this, I would like to conclude my today's presentation. I hope it will help you in starting your journey on the quantum computing route.
So good afternoon, sir. So on the behalf of the whole team of Gyani Rudra, now I would like to propose the vote of thanks for this amazing and insightful session. First and foremost, I would like to thank our amazing guest, Mr. Anshul Saxena, sir, who, despite their busy schedule, has found some time to grace this session for their wonderful contribution with the experience which made the session interesting, and also to our audience, which helped us in making the session a great success through their active participation. I would really like to appreciate each and everyone who asked their queries and made this session a wonderful interactive session. Further, I would like to thank Sir for telling us the main things about quantum computing, like where we can achieve, how it is differentiated with supercomputers, and what's the difference between the classical computers and the quantum computers, and how can we see our future with this quantum computers like next 30 to 40 years, right? So we really got to know many things from this session, and as a computer science engineer, or I'm in third year actually, so I really thought this session was very helpful for us. Like we'll be able to work on it in later on.
No, in fact, it's my suggestion that if you can go for QWorld internships and you can look for the internships. So these internships are under very famous theoretical physicist professors who use computer science engineering grads to solve the particular problem.
Yes,
And you can get a very good exposure by working with these kinds of professors and these kinds of people actually.
yes, yes, sir. So thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciated you gave us so much time and so much information regarding this
Thank
field.
you.
So thanks a lot to everyone, and thank you, Ronak Gupta, sir, for arranging this session for us, and it's really very helpful for us. Thank you, everyone, for your presence, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.